Hi everyone, welcome back to She Birds podcast. Today's guest is Leila Ziari. Did I say that right? I know I didn't.
Leila Ziari, but I mean, it wasn't that bad. I mean, Leila Ziari is close.
So can you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
All right, my name is Leila Ziari, and I I published a book in 2020 called Love Poems to a Poet. I write, I make art. I just opened a vintage clothing store online, and I don't know, I do a lot of things, and yeah.
That's cool. Wait, a vintage store? Wait,
Yeah.
so it's on your website?
Well, no, it's through Depop right now and like Instagram, but there is a link on my website, and I'm working on like making it. Right now, it's just like a link that says shop this, but I'm working on making it like a whole actual section of the website. But right now, it's just on Depop. But if you go to my website, there's this little like red thing that says shop my shop or something, So it's new. I started it like 2 months ago. So.
Oh wow! So do you like buy the clothes and then sell them, or do you?
Yeah, so I find them and then I resell them. So it's like a scavenger hunt, It's super like hit or miss what I'm gonna find, and sometimes you just find the greatest things ever, and sometimes you find nothing at all.
Nice.
But so yeah,
how long have you been working on that?
Well, I guess like honestly, I spent 2020 like the whole year pretty much in its entirety collecting vintage clothes just for myself, and then it just I had already had some, but like that became like the thing I did of the year. It's like, okay, we're stuck at home and I can't I'm not paying to travel, so like I spent the whole year just collecting vintage clothes, and then I like got this closet and I was like, this is unmanageable, the amount of vintage clothes that I am buying and like finding, because like I was already doing the finding like on eBay and like doing the bidding for my own stuff, and I was like, okay, well this is out of control, like I need to start selling some of this stuff. So I was like, okay, well the only rational thing to do when you buy this many vintage clothes is to just open a shop and have a forever evolving vintage clothing store. I mean, there's really no other option. So that's just kind of how it started, and then I decided to like turn it into a business towards the end of 2020 probably, and then I spent like all of January collecting more inventory, and then I really only started selling it like 2 months ago on the website. So
have you got a lot of clients and stuff? A lot of people buying them?
No, because it's so new. I mean, I just like popped up out of nowhere like, hey, I sell vintage clothes. I mean, I know like when businesses start, it's you gotta get yourself out there. So I mean, I do expect to have a lot of clients in the future, but I can't be like, yeah, I have a bunch right now. Great. Because that would be a lie, but that would be like really a high expectation anyway, because, it's a brand new business. So that takes time and,
Yeah, that's cool. So what inspired you to do vintage clothing?
Well, I mean, life, I guess, my whole life is inspired pretty much by like not modern times at all. All the people, places, and things that inspire me really aren't of this time, except for the ocean. I mean, like the ocean's great, and that's about like the present moment, and that's like my current muse that's alive, really. Besides like there's a couple other people out there, but like I just the fashions of times past are very inspirational to me. The writers of times past are very inspirational to me. The movies, like I'm an old Hollywood absolute freak, like especially with a year inside, like I have like a whole list of all my favorite old Hollywood actors and actresses, and I'm mad about them. Like I love old movies. So I guess, like my infatuation with everything from that time stems to clothing. So it's like, and the clothing of that time is not only just gorgeous, but like it's so much more personalized and like made with quality, and it's unique, So I just like, I mean, fashion, I mean, as an artist, like fashion is literally like wearable art. And I mean, I just think I've always been so obsessed with fashion before I decided to do anything with it. Like when I was a little girl, I drew like paper dolls and stuff, and so like fashion has always been like my whole life, and like a huge part of my life, not my whole life, but so I just it's like a creative expression on your body, and so vintage clothing is just it's fun. It's unique. Every piece is like a treasure. It's like a piece of history. You know, it has a story. And, you know, like this, like that piece you're never going to find again. I mean, of course, there's some replicas and like, you know, you see the sellers and they're like, 10 years later, I found the same piece again. And you're like, but that's kind of like a miracle. It's like, it's literally like a treasure hunt. And it's so exciting when you find a piece that's so unique. And then like knowing the history behind it, oh, it blows my mind.
So do you go like antique shopping and like getting different antiques and like different?
I do, but like honestly, I have more luck like on the internet, like sourcing, because like antique, I do that sometimes. But honestly, like estate sales are great. I mean, if you want to get like a lot of stuff like an estate sale, but I mean, like I'm in the process of going more towards the LA area right now. I'm in the Bay Area, and it's definitely there's more like vintage clothing estate sales there in the Bay Area. It's like you have to really like look like every day and make sure there's going to be an estate sale with clothing. So that's a good way. And then of course there's antique stores, but it's so hit or miss because you could go to an antique store and find like an absolute gem, and then you could go and there's just furniture, you know, so it's totally hit or miss. And thrift stores are hit or miss too. So I mean, like, and also like a thrift store, yeah, sure, you might find like this great piece, but you're spending hours and hours and hours like going through the racks, and then your brain is like, what? So I think honestly, I mean, it's still new to me, but I'm having more luck online, and I think I'm gonna do pretty well at like estate sales and stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Wow. I never really like, what time set do you like the style? Like, is it the 70s or the 60s?
Well, I mean, honestly, my personal favorite style is like 1930s and 40s.
Really?
Oh, wow. That's my favorite of like all time. I just think like it's so classic. I love the 20s too, but I mean, it's harder to find pieces from the 20s that are in good condition. So a lot of my own personal closet is primarily the 70s, just because they're easier, accessible, you know what I mean? But and I do have a lot of 40s like glamour gowns and stuff, but they're not like, I'm not gonna go out every single day of my life in this like floor length ball gown from the 1930s. So it's like that's actually my favorite style, but what I don't wear it every day just because, you know, there's a time and place. I mean, this is like from the 50s right now, you know, so I do like the 50s, I like the 60s. I mean, you know, my shop is gonna be like from Victorian ages up until like the 80s, you know, but
hey, I hope you found like the 80s hats. You know how like in Pretty in Pink, the hats they wear, that's what I'm looking for. I cannot find one just like.
Okay, well, I'll have to find you one then. You know what I really like? The those extravagant hats from the races and stuff from like you know,
like on the Kentucky Derby. That's what I do every Derby, because you know I live walking distance from the Derby. So the lady,
the hat's so good.
Yes, I'm like, am I getting home today?
Right, I know that must be so busy to live near that. That's crazy.
Oh my goodness, it is. So, what inspired you to write love poems to a poet?
I mean, love itself, I would have to say. I mean, there's definitely influences beyond like the fact of love itself, but I mean, love was the driving force behind the book. Self-love, love, an expression of just divine unconditional love that exists within us and within everybody that, yes, like you can find in certain things. I mean, it's like a whole book to the muse, like whatever the muse is in that space or shape or form. And yes, I had some specific ones that created the book, but you know what I mean? Like also like there's a lot of the ocean in there, there's a lot of the cosmos, there's just a lot of just emotion in there. And it's I don't know, it's a book like, it's like if you ripped my heart out of my chest and then like threw it onto a page, it would be that, I guess.
Oh wow, that's awesome. So who are a few of your favorite poets?
My favorite poets? That's such a loaded question. I mean, you know, it's like, who are my favorites? These kinds of questions throw me for a loop. I mean, I love like French poetry. Like I love like Verlaine and Rimbaud and like Baudelaire and stuff like that. And you know, I like John Keats and you know, I mean, God, I like a lot of poets. I mean, one of my favorite authors of all time is Henry Miller, who doesn't actually write poetry, but I'd say he's a poet in his own right. You know, like his writings are poetic, but you know, I like a lot of poets. It's just whoever, like, some people muse me at different times, you know what I mean? So, like, I could be in a really phase, like, honestly, the love letters that Dylan Thomas, like, helped inspire love poems to a poet. They actually got me writing it. But, like, you know, is Dylan Thomas my all-time favorite poet? Like, no, because I don't have one, you know, but I love his poetry. So it's like, that's a hard question, you know? It's like, different people inspire different aspects of my life, I guess.
Yeah.
But I love all poetry. I mean, you know, like, give me some Edgar Allan Poe, whatever. Like, give me some, what's that guy called? Can't even think right now. But you know like,
I like the book from Sex and the City. I know this is way off, but
the love letters.
Yes, that. Okay, I like that book.
I have that book, and when I was reading the description, I only know it's the book from Sex and the City because the description when I bought it was like, this is the book from Sex and the City. Yes, because I'm mad about love letters. Like, honestly, like, my favorite books of all time are just love letters because they're so profound. I mean, like, poetry is great, but even, like, my poetry is, like, watered down by rhyme schemes. You know what I mean? I'm trying to rhyme. I'm trying to prove a point. Like, a letter, because I write letters. Like, I don't send them because I don't have anyone to send them to, but I write love letters to the beloved every single day of my life. Like, I write one, and there's just something about, like, love letters just does it for me, you know? Like, so on my shelf, my favorite books, like, of all time are, like, love letters or, like, letters from, you know what I mean? Like, I think I have, like, on my bedside table, I have, like, the letters of John Keats right now and, like, the letters of Kafka. I mean, I just read, the Henry Miller and Anais Nin love letters. Whew. I mean, give me a love letter literally any day. Like, I'm done.
Yes. So
that's
what do you enjoy doing when you're not writing, besides the vintage and reading love poems?
I mean, I'm primarily, like, going to the beach, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean, I spend most of my time, I probably spend more time at the ocean than I do writing or vintaging or anything else, you know, so I'm a beach bum through and through. I like to walk a lot, so I just like to be outside, you know, like, I like to take myself to the ocean every morning. I mean, cook. I mean, I honestly, like, sometimes like cooking. I'm more so right now cook because I have to, because right now everything in my life is so busy with, like, this and that and, like, trying to publish a new book and, like, but sometimes I have, like, 2020, I had a grand old time being, like, a master chef because, like, there's really not much else to do. And my creativity was kind of like, man, we're stuck here. So I'm not, like, there's not a lot of flow. I mean, but cooking is creativity. I guess everything is kind of creativity. But yeah, a beach bum, wholeheartedly. Take me to the beach.
I remember before, like, COVID and stuff, when we first started talking, like, when we first did our interview, you was traveling a lot. And I was like, wow. And you was going everywhere. I was like, man,
everywhere. I know. I feel like for most of my adult life, like, my whole life was traveling. I mean, since I could, I've been traveling, like, nonstop almost, you know? So this is the longest I've ever stayed put anywhere in my life, honestly. And it's been great for a lot of reasons. And then, of course, you know, I have that itch. And, but a lot of my creativity comes from traveling and just seeing different places. Like, it doesn't matter if I'm literally going to, like, not even a nice place, which I would, of course, always by choice go to a nice place, but sometimes you don't end up in nice places. But it doesn't matter, because if you take me to, like, an absolute trash hole, like, accidentally, it doesn't matter because I'll write something about it. It's like, it's just anything that's different is just, it gets your brain flowing. So, I mean, you know, creativity is traveling. And so I think I was writing a lot more when I was traveling a lot more. And yeah, because you meet strange people and you see strange things. And even if you've been to that place before, it's like, whatever, you don't live there. So it's always just different. And
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, so I've missed traveling, but I have a lot of trips that need to happen soon.
Yeah.
France, the Mediterranean, south of France is, like, number one on my list right now. So
I'm going to Rome. Well, I'm taking Coraline to Barcelona. That's where we want to go.
Okay, very good. I like that.
I want to thank you so much for coming on my show and talking to me about your poetry. And
yeah, no problem.
You have a great day.
Yeah, you too. Thank you for having me.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey everyone, I want to thank you all so much for coming on my show and allowing, not allowing me, coming on. I mean, I want to thank everyone for listening to my interview with Leila Ziari. I still think I pronounced it wrong. But thank you all so much for listening, and I hope you all check out her poetry book and her vintage store on her website. Her website is linking below, so you can go check it out, see what she's up to, what she's her books that she's working on, everything. So I hope you all have a great day. Thank you all so much for listening.